Okay, stop what you're doing because what is happening in the NBA playoffs right now, I need to talk about it. The Minnesota Timberwolves just went up 3-1 on the Denver Nuggets, 3-1 on the reigning MVP, on a team that won the championship not too long ago, on Nikola Jokic, the big man who some people were calling the greatest player on the planet. And I'm sitting here like, did anyone see this coming? Because I'll be honest with you, I did not have Minnesota doing this. I really didn't. And I follow this league every single day. Welcome back to Full Court Gossip, the channel where we talk about everything the mainstream media is too scared to say. I'm your host, and today we are going deep on this Wolves-Nuggets series because there is so much happening under the surface that people are completely sleeping on, so buckle up because this one is going to be good. Let's start from the beginning because context matters. Denver came into these playoffs with a target on their back. After winning it all, they became the team everyone wanted to beat, and that's just how the NBA works. You win the title, and suddenly every team in the league has spent the whole offseason studying your film, figuring out your weaknesses, preparing for you specifically. Minnesota spent all year getting ready for this moment, and it showed. Boy, did it show. Game 1, Minnesota wins. Okay, upset alert. But Denver fans weren't panicking yet. You know how it is. One game, fluky stuff happens in the playoffs. Maybe Jokic had a bad night. Maybe the shots just weren't falling. Nobody hits the panic button after Game 1. Game 2, Denver bounces back. Nuggets win 114-119. Wait, actually, Minnesota won that one too. Let me be clear. Minnesota took Game 2 as well. So now we're 2-0 Wolves. And now people start getting nervous in Denver because this isn't a fluke anymore. This is a pattern. Denver came home for Game 3. Home court, their crowd, their energy, their moment to flip the script. Minnesota won Game 3, 113-96. It wasn't even close. And then Game 4, Minnesota goes back into Denver, walks into the Nuggets' house, and wins 112-96. Again, not close. Same energy, same dominance. 3, 2, 1. Look, I've been watching basketball for a long time, and when a series gets to 3-1, statistically, the team that's up almost always closes it out. The comeback from 3-1 down is one of the rarest things in sports. We always talk about LeBron and the Cavaliers doing it in the finals. We remember it because it almost never happens. So let's talk about what is actually going on here. Because this isn't luck. Minnesota is doing something specific, and Denver is having a very specific kind of breakdown. Let me give the Timberwolves their flowers right now, because they deserve it. First thing, their defense. Oh my goodness, their defense. Minnesota came into this series with a game plan, and the game plan was simple. Make it miserable for everyone who isn't Nikola Jokic. Force the ball out of his hands. Make his teammates beat you. And guess what? His teammates have not been beating them. Jamal Murray, who was absolutely electric in the 2020 bubble playoffs, the guy who put up back-to-back 50-point games, the guy who basically carried Denver to a championship. Jamal Murray has been invisible in this series. We're talking about a player who, at his best, is one of the most dangerous scorers in the entire league. And Minnesota has just completely taken him out of the game. The pressure they're putting on him off the dribble, the way they're denying him catches in his spots, it's textbook. It's beautiful if you're a basketball nerd like me. Michael Porter Jr., same story. This is a guy who can shoot lights out on any given night. Minnesota is making him work for every single touch. He's not getting the clean looks he's used to. And when you disrupt a rhythm shooter's rhythm, everything falls apart. Now, here's where it gets interesting because Jokic is still Jokic. The man is putting up numbers. He's doing what he does, passing, scoring, rebounding. He's playing at an elite level individually. But here's the thing about basketball. It's a team sport. You can be the greatest individual player in the world, and if nobody around you can get going, it doesn't matter. And Minnesota has figured that out. They're daring Jokic to beat them alone. And even the greatest center in the world can only do so much when his whole supporting cast is struggling. Now, let me talk about what Minnesota is doing on offense because this is underrated. Anthony Edwards. Can we please talk about Anthony Edwards? This man has stepped up to the biggest stage of his career and said, "This is mine." He's been aggressive. He's been fearless. He's attacking Denver's defense over and over, and he's not flinching. There's a reason people are starting to compare him to some of the all-time greats in terms of his playoff mentality. The guy plays with zero fear. Zero. And in the playoffs, that is worth more than almost anything else. Karl Anthony Towns beat Gex. When he's hitting shots, Minnesota becomes almost impossible to guard because now Denver has to respect him from the three-point line, and that opens up driving lanes. It opens up Jokic mismatches in reverse. Suddenly, Denver's defense is stretched thin trying to cover everything, and their role players have been solid. Nobody's had a meltdown. Nobody's gone 0 for 12 and killed the team's momentum. Everyone is playing within the system, trusting each other, and it's clicking. This is what good team building looks like. This is what good coaching looks like. All right, now we flip the coin because I need to talk about Denver, and I need to be real about it. There is something wrong with the Nuggets right now, and I don't just mean the scoreboard wrong. I mean there's something going on beneath the surface that is really troubling if you're a Denver fan. Let's start with the coaching adjustments. When a series is going badly, we look to the bench. We look at the coach and we ask, what are you doing differently? What adjustments are you making? Because Minnesota clearly had a plan and Denver has to find a counter. And right now, I'm not seeing the counter. Game after game, it feels like Denver is running the same sets, trusting the same guys in the same situations, and expecting different results. That's not a recipe for success. At some point, someone has to say, hey, what we're doing isn't working. Let's try something different. Murray's confidence has to be a concern. In the playoffs, confidence is everything. When a player starts pressing, trying too hard to break out of a slump, they make worse decisions. They force shots. They dribble into trouble. They stop trusting their teammates. I'm not saying Murray is doing all of that, but you can see the frustration on his face. You can see him trying to do too much at times, and that's not the Murray who's at his best. There's also a fatigue question that nobody is really talking about. Denver has been a top team for a few years now. Jokic has been playing heavy minutes, carrying enormous responsibility for a long time. The playoffs are exhausting. And when you're going up against a young, hungry team that has something to prove, that energy difference can be real. Minnesota is playing with desperation. Denver might be playing with doubt. And here's the thing about doubt. It spreads. It's contagious in a locker room. One guy starts hesitating, and then someone else starts hesitating, and suddenly the whole team is waiting for someone else to make a play instead of going out and making it themselves. Denver has to fix this mentality problem before they even think about Game 5. Because if they come out with the same energy, with the same slow start, with the same timid offense, Minnesota is going to close this series out, and it won't be pretty. Game 5 is coming up. Denver is at home. The Nuggets are fighting for their playoff lives. And look, I never count out a great player. Jokic is great. Murray has been great in his career. Denver is not just going to roll over and die. They're too good for that. They're too experienced for that. If there's any team that knows how to handle pressure, it should be them. But this Minnesota team is different. This is not a team that's going to go into Denver scared. They've already won there in this series. They've already proven they can handle the noise, the crowd, the pressure. They've proven they can close games. They're not intimidated. So what does Denver need to do to win Game 5? Number 1, Jamal Murray needs to show up. Not a little bit, a lot. Murray needs to come out in the first quarter and make Minnesota pay immediately. He needs to be aggressive from the jump. He cannot wait for the game to come to him. He has to go get it. Number 2, Denver needs a different defensive approach on Edwards. Right now, Edwards is getting to wherever he wants on the floor. That can't continue. They need to throw different looks at him, change the coverages, make him think instead of just react. Because when Edwards is just reacting and playing instinctively, he's nearly unstoppable. Make him solve a puzzle. Number 3, Denver needs to get to the free throw line. Minnesota is a physical team, and sometimes that physicality can be turned against them. Draw fouls, get to the line, change the game's rhythm. If Denver does all of that, and if their role players step up and hit open shots, they can win Game 5. They can keep this series alive. But honestly, the way Minnesota has been playing, I think the Wolves close this out. I think Minnesota's defense is just too good right now. I think Edwards is too locked in. I think Denver's supporting cast is too shell-shocked to suddenly find their game at home when everything's on the line. My prediction, Minnesota wins Game 5 and advances. And honestly, after everything they've shown in this series, they deserve it. But let's zoom out for a second, because this series is bigger than just Wolves versus Nuggets. This is a statement series for the entire Western Conference, because if Minnesota can take down Denver, the championship caliber team, it tells every other team out west that the Timberwolves are for real. Not fun to watch for real, not good team for real, but we can go to the finals for real. And that changes the whole conversation about the West. Oklahoma City has looked dominant against Phoenix. They're up 3-0 and cruising. The Thunder are young, and they are hungry, and they are scary good right now. If Minnesota gets through Denver, a potential matchup with OKC in the next round would be appointment television. Edwards versus whoever the Thunder have stepping up. Youth and energy on both sides. That would be must-watch basketball. On the other side of the bracket, the Lakers and Rockets are tied up 2-2 in their series, which means even LeBron and company haven't been able to dominate. The West is wide open right now, and Minnesota is right in the middle of it. As for Denver, if they do get eliminated here, there will be big questions in the offseason about the roster, about the coaching, about whether this core can be rebuilt, or whether it's time to make changes. That's a painful conversation, but it's a necessary one, because you can't lose a 3-1 series lead, if it comes to that, without some serious self-reflection. Championships have windows. We've seen it happen with teams that looked invincible. Golden State, San Antonio, others, where one bad postseason starts a decline that they never quite recover from. I'm not saying Denver is done as a franchise, but if they blow this, it's going to echo. All right, everyone, that's what I've got for you today on Full Court Gossip. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 3 wins away from the next round. Denver is staring down elimination. Game 5 is going to be wild, and your girl or your guy is going to be right here covering every single moment of it. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we drop content on NBA and WNBA all season long. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. We don't do boring. We don't do safe takes. We give you the real talk every time. Drop in the comments, do you think Denver pulls off the comeback, or is Minnesota about to shock the world? I read every comment, I respond, and I want to hear from you. Like this video if you think the Timberwolves are for real. Share it with a friend who needs to wake up and pay attention to these playoffs. And as always, stay locked in, stay gossiping, and I'll see you in the next one.